My auntie pastor.
Oh, hey,
How
my
are you?
niece of an amazing wonder.
Man, can we just first of all, can we talk about just how far back we go, like actually in real life, and then like what is happening right now? Can you please just prophetically help me understand what is happening in the world?
You know what? It's so crazy. Well, I don't know if I can do that about the world. What's so crazy is how far back that we do go. And I just was telling my assistant this morning, I said, when Sarah and Cora were little, I said they would come to my house and we would play
Yes.
salon, and y'all would give me the greatest foot massages on Sunday afternoon between church, between Sunday morning and Sunday night, because we had to have church Sunday morning and Sunday night.
I told my
And
girls this Sunday we were leaving church, and I was like, "Do y'all know that we used to come back up here at 7 o'clock?
ooh,
Like, do you know that was our life? Is that we didn't just get finished in the morning? Church was our existence."
I mean, it was our existence, and somehow we had the grace to do it. But like, let's not do that again right now. Okay, because I don't know that I have the grace to do it. But yeah, that's y'all were so little, and I appreciate God for bringing our lives together. I
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't be who I am without the Jakes family, and y'all have, and now to watch you. I'm like, that's that little girl. That's that baby girl. And I just stand back and I'm like, God, you're just amazing. You're
I
amazing.
really, in many ways, I think, especially coming back to Dallas and being around so many of the people who I was raised by, I still have moments where I feel like that little girl, but then there's just like this sobering reality that God is granting me an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And yet to still maintain that like little girl nature as it relates to just being in the presence of God and gleaning from the wisdom of God that's all around me.
Yes.
It's an interesting season to be like in this sandwich generation.
Yes. And my mind automatically goes to Solomon and
Mm,
how in
yeah.
his story in the Bible where uh, God made him king, and he's like, oh, you know, me? Why
Yeah.
why not my father? I am but a child, he said. And God made him a king in spite of the fact that on the inside he felt like a child. And
Mm,
I love his story, and I love how he talks about the people of God. And he said, these are your great people,
great
God,
people.
not just people. And I
Yeah.
think as somebody in ministry, in any form, we must never ever forget that God's people are great. And
Mm,
anything we do to service his house or his people, it's a get to do. It's a
yeah,
get
it's
to
a
do
get to do. Can
for
I ask
sure.
you, as a woman in ministry, how do you feel like things have changed from when you first began to what we experience now? How do you think things have changed, and how do you think things are the same?
I think, let me tell you, let me go back to last year's Woman Evolve.
Okay.
Um, I was so nervous. Okay, when I tell you I was so nervous, uh, I was standing behind the stage and y'all introduced me. And I'm telling you, from the moment that my feet stepped beyond that wall that was there and I walked out, first of all, I didn't know I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But when I walked out, there was the face of youth, but the hunger of old. And
Mm.
to see so many, and so it took me several minutes to deal with that because I'm hearing an old cry coming
Hallelujah.
from a young woman. And that so it took me a minute to just regulate and deal with like this is crazy. But there
Mm.
was ancient wells in that room, and they were young and beautiful, and and yet they were so hungry. So I, it takes me back to Woman Thou Art Loose days
Yeah.
when woman thou art loose, when your dad would say, we're going to convene and we're having woman thou art loose. I mean, to tell you, every woman's life just went on hold
Mm.
because our next assignment was connected to those meetings,
Mm.
and people came so hungry. And when your dad would say, woman, thou art, I mean, there was such a roar. So
Yeah.
from day one, I've always said there is a sound that is associated with woman thou art loose.
Mm.
And I heard that sound, and it just to be able to I felt like lucky is not a good word, I guess, to use, but I felt like the luckiest person in the world that night at Woman
Mhm.
Evolve, because I had one foot in that generation, but I also was feeling so blessed to be able to put another foot in your generation. And I was like, God, I'm literally a woman that has evolved.
Mm.
I have
Mhm.
evolved, and you let me live to see it. And
Wow.
the hunger. I mean, that's that's the same, which is so good because hunger is a sign that you're getting healthy. One of the
Mm.
first things that you lose when you're sick is you lose your
Yeah. Oh,
appetite. You
so
know,
good.
and I'm telling you, there were ever how many women were in there. I mean, from the front row to the balcony, the last
Yeah.
row. You could feel, and if anybody is a speaker, you know what that's like. But I could feel they were
Mhm.
pulling everything out of me. And I mean, everything was coming out of me. And I was like, God, I don't know. I don't know. It's been many a year since I stepped into an arena and felt like everybody in the room wanted something that I had. And
Hallelujah.
I was telling somebody yesterday, I said, when I walked on that stage, it was like I was enveloped in a huge cloud. And
Mm.
I walked onto that stage covered by that cloud. And that cloud stayed with me, Sarah, for days.
Wow.
Days. It wasn't over
Wow.
when church was over,
Yeah.
but for days, I was like, God, you allowed me to step into something new that you are doing in the earth.
Mm.
And listen, he's doing it through you and your team, and he's using bits of your history.
Yeah.
And it's all the stuff that we've been through is what makes us who we are. And I couldn't be who I am. You couldn't be who you are had God not decided to do that.
You said hunger is a sign of health, and that just deeply
Yes.
resonates with me because you're right. The first thing we lose is our appetite, and to
Yeah.
be hungry for God. I think right now I feel myself getting hungry again. We're fasting for Woman Evolve, and I feel that hunger. I feel like since last year and this year that I feel like the enemy's like greatest attack on my mind and my planning has been like, it doesn't matter. It's just making noise. It's not a big deal. And I've had to really consecrate myself to hear from God because I feel like the confidence and the clarity and the weight of what Woman Evolve is can only come from me being in the presence of God. And so I wonder, like, as a mentor for so many women in ministry, not just myself, who are desperate to maintain that hunger and to go to the right source to be filled. What is that rhythm like over years? Like, I feel like, I mean, this is going to be the sixth Woman Evolve. I've been in ministry for 10 years and I still, that Solomon scripture feels so much like me. And I think there's a part of me that's wondering, like, when am I going to feel like sure footed? When am I going to feel confident in this thing and not, have these same battles with the enemy about inadequacy or the importance of the anointing God's placed on my life?
Ugh. Did you hear what I said a minute ago when I said I was a little nervous?
Yeah, I did,
After
but I wanted to just
all,
scratch that out.
after all of these years, there is still something in me
Yeah.
that when, people say, do you ever get over that? When do you get over that? Oh, I wish somebody would tell me because I've never got over that. Now, there
Mm,
is a level of confidence but it's not confidence in yourself. It's
yeah, amen.
confidence in the Christ that is in you. And you know that if he opened a door for you, and that's why I have never been one to try to knock my own doors down
Yeah,
because I'm like anybody that tries to do that, they're crazy. Because
yeah.
I mean, if he don't do it and if he don't open it, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, God, I'm sure I told him when I walked out there that night, God, if you don't help me, I will make a fool out of both of us, me and
Both of
you.
me and
Okay.
you.
I told him, I tell him that all the time because there is that thing in me that is totally dependent because, and I think it's worked for my advantage, the fact that I don't have that personality. Some
Mm,
people just have that personality, and if God doesn't show up, they can still go out and do whatever. I was
yeah,
never that person. I was envious of that person, but I
yeah.
was I was never that person. So I'm like, look, I have to have you. So
I have
whatever it
to.
takes, whatever it takes, you just tell me. And I mean, I will take God like, okay, God, today is September. I mean, today is August. What is the date? 29th? Say to whatever day it is. I'm like, God, this is the month of September, and I so need you that if I go out here and fail, I'm taking you right back to this day that I
Mm,
said to you I needed you
yeah,
because I can't do it without you. So that 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 takes me to surrender,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
because there's that place that you have to really say, okay, God, I can't control the outcome. That's what surrender is. It says, I've gotten to the place now where I realize I cannot control the outcome. And the way you're able to do that, um, you become I don't know if I want to say accommodating, but acceptance is what's important. And the
Yeah.
reason that I can surrender is because I have come to a place where I can say, I just accept whatever you say. I don't want anything you don't want me to want. I don't need anything you don't need me to need. So help me, God, to just accept what you send me. It's out of my control. And the way that happens is through trust. And the way trust is built is through relationship.
Mm,
Because I've been in stuff, Sarah, that I felt like was way bigger than me. And I remember God saying to me one time, Cheryl, I'm the man in your life. I am
mm,
the man. I will get every door for you. Don't try to get it for yourself. So therefore, I knew if he opened it, his grace would take me in there and enable me to do whatever I had to do. And I have even as of late, I have come to the point where because I really like to think things through and I like to
yeah.
have everything prepared. I'm like I leave God that little bit of room, like, okay, you can blow up and do everything you want to do, but I'm going to be ready. Okay. I'm going to have something, I'm going to be ready. And then I just kind of went through that season of, you know, I don't know why, God, I can't seem to get it clear. I can't map this out. And at that point, I've learned sometimes late on a Saturday night how to just put my Sharpie down,
Mm,
my paper down, get up out of my chair, walk to my bedroom and lay my head down and say, if you don't do it, it won't be done. And sometimes, most of the time, late in the midnight hour, I'd go to bed with no direction and wake up, and it was as if I had had it the whole time.
Mm.
But let me tell you, those moments, it's trust. And sometimes the greatest thing you can do is just go to bed. Go to
Okay.
bed.
It's like it's trust, but it's also stress. Like, like
Oh my God.
it is trust.
Oh,
It is a wrestling to trust because I feel like ever since God gave me this word surrender for the year, that I've had to defend surrender in the context of our relationship with Jesus. Because when we surrender with Jesus, we are trusting that whatever the outcome is, that we're not going to have to face it alone. That the
yep,
presence of the Lord will be with us, and the presence may comfort us, the presence may propel us, the presence may protect us in the midst of whatever it is we're trying to hang on to. And I think so often we have seen surrender as defeat. And I feel like I wanted everyone else to surrender, but I wanted to not.
I second that. I do because, yes, let
I
me
did.
tell you how to do it.
But also not do it. And I feel like the last probably 30 days, that everything that's happening in my life, anytime I ask God, like, what are you revealing to me about who you are in this season? What is it that I need to understand about my walk? Where are you developing me and making me more like Jesus? It all comes down to, if you surrender, you can get to that.
Yeah,
Like, the area of your life that I am trying to spiritually develop you in requires surrender. So if you let go of your plan, your rhythm, your pace, your vision, then on the other side of surrender is proximity to Jesus. And you say
yes.
you want to be like Jesus, you say you want to be reconciled and have this flow of God's wisdom and power and grace and love in your life, but all of that's on the other side of surrender, and it's stressful.
I grew up not an only child, but I was a lonely child because there was 11 years between me and my baby, me and my older
Mm,
sister. So by the time I came along, everybody was married and gone, and or they were, because my sister got married like when she was about 16 or so, and so wasn't I didn't have many years at home with them. But the crazy thing is that I felt isolated a lot, and I
yeah.
didn't understand that as a child. And then I lost my father, and I didn't understand that because I was like a daddy's girl. But it's like my life was so isolated, and it wasn't until I got grown that I realized all of that was the purpose of God being molded in my life, because He became everything to me.
Mm,
And He put things in me, and you and somebody that's listening to us today put things in us. And I know for me that I had no clue were there. I'm telling you, preaching, talking, having a conversation with
yeah.
somebody was so opposite of my nature. And then I married a man who loves to talk. So that was awesome because he talked, I didn't have to. And so it was, but it was in those moments that I learned to hear God.
Mm,
And uh, he kept requiring things of me. I had to surrender to the loneliness. I had to surrender to the fact that he took my sister when I was only 2 years old. I had to surrender to the fact that I lost my father. I kept like saying, God, I'm young, but you keep taking me to this place called the altar. And I keep having to lay things down on this altar. But I'm telling you, I would have never known that I was a worshiper had he not
mm,
required things from me to lay on the altar. I would have never known that there was a leader in me, but I had to go to that place of surrender. And I'm saying that to say what you were saying a moment ago, that it's usually not until you surrender that he opens up and you start seeing things on the other side of
Mm.
surrender. I didn't know that I could speak in front of anybody. I didn't know it until I said, "Yes, Lord." And I really meant it. But I was scared because when you're really called, you want it and you don't want it at the same time. You're saying, "Here am
Yeah.
I, Lord. Send Sarah. Send
Yeah.
anybody, but don't just." And then there's something in you that reaches very you're scared, but you reach for it anyway because
Yeah.
it's that conflict of surrender. And I would have never known I could be an author. I would have never known I could be a pastor. I would have never known I could be an itinerant ministry person. But all along the way, God would say, "Okay, it's time for another sacrifice." And it would be time to lay things on the altar. And then because everybody says, "We're going to the next level, we're going to the next level," without understanding that the first thing you come to on the next level is an altar of sacrifice.
Ooh.
It's the first thing you come to, that you have to lay it down. But when you have greatness, that's that's in you, and greatness in that atmosphere that I walked into at Woman Evolve last year. When you have greatness in your life, seeds of greatness always grow best in the soil of surrender. I'm gonna say that
I have to
again.
write that down. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, hurry up and write that down so
yeah.
even if I forget it, one of us have it. But seeds of greatness always grow better in the soil of surrender. So that says you can be so great. You can have great gifts. You can have great talents. You can have great opportunities. But at the end of the day, if those seeds are not planted in the soil of surrender, you'll never, ever maximize your potential because they have to be planted in that. And I didn't say they have to die in that soil, but they do have to be planted.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when there's greatness in you, the women that you attract, there's greatness in them. And they're probably trying to figure out, what in the world am I doing here? I did see some women from Woman Thou Art Loose. I saw a crossover.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was so awesome because the Bible says a wise man takes out of his treasure both old and new. And when I stepped on that stage, I could feel all of that. I could feel the old with the new. I could feel
Mm.
the older wisdom, but I could feel the younger hunger.
Yeah.
And it was colliding in the room. The women that will gravitate to you, even the men that gravitate, it's because there is greatness in them. And it's something about when you hear the sound, every move of God is preceded by a sound. And when you
Mm.
hear that sound, it'll make you stop dead in your tracks. I mean, that's what I did to your father. When I heard him on a cassette tape, I was like, I got to find him. And
Mm.
I was on a mission to Charleston, West Virginia to find out, where's this church? Where's this man? Because that sound grew me. It drew
Mm.
me and it taught me and it made me who I am. You're doing the same to a whole new generation of women.
Mm. I'm that man. That is so scary. That is so scary.
Man, isn't it though?
And recently, I think someone sent me something someone negative said about me on social media. And I was wrestling with it, and I think it's just a part of the whole inadequacy attack and all these things.
Sure.
And you know what hurt me the most about it is that it wasn't even what they said. It's that I took what they said to the Lord, because if they were right and I was misleading people and not getting them to Jesus in some way, like, that was devastating to me. I think my greatest desire is to just be that bridge, not the
Yes.
stopping point, but to be that bridge. And I think, the enemy doesn't have any new tricks. And so
Right.
I think part of the strategy of the enemy that I need to study as it relates to what he continues to lay in front of me as a trap is the fear
Hmm.
that I am mishandling the influence, because all I really want is to create those atmospheres, to serve those atmospheres, for those atmospheres to be transformational. And I think the mere thought that those atmospheres aren't what they feel like they are, like in the room, like if it's not that, then I'm way wrong. And
Listen,
God, get me
me too.
together, because it feels, I mean, for a room that size to feel that intimate means the presence of God was so heavy and so
Yes.
thick that he swallowed up all the space in the room.
Completely. Completely. It was
Mm,
engulfed. And if I was the enemy, I would fight you too. I would fight
mm,
you tooth and toenail. I would strategize. I would do everything that I could. And the beauty of what you just said was you went to God and you said, you said, if I'm wrong, if there's any truth to whatever this
yeah,
statement is, please help me because I
please
don't
help
want
me.
to be wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, you are that bridge, and then you have to think about what a bridge does.
Mm,
A bridge connects cities. It'll take this city.
mm,
A bridge connects it to this city. Different parts of town. Often there's a bridge that is in between. Bridges are driven over. Bridges
mm,
carry weight.
mm,
It, all of those things. Bridges are often the link between lack and abundance. Uh, so if you wonder why you feel the weight, it's because you do feel the weight. But the
mm.
great thing, and I've had to tell myself this so many times, is the scripture that talks about being strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Yeah.
It's not Cheryl's might, it's not Sarah's might. That's so much easier said than done because sometimes you get so busy in it that you all of a sudden it's on you and you're like, I can't move. I'm paralyzed. And that's when the inadequacies come in. Uh, that's when all your plans start like, you feel like, God, I don't know how to make this happen. Uh,
Yeah.
but the absolute greatest thing that can happen to somebody's dream is a plan of surrender.
Mm,
That's the greatest thing that can happen because you got it. You take it to the Lord and you say, now do it, just do it for me. And I don't know who I heard preach this one time, but they were talking about, and they don't really, some places have them today, but when you walk into a grocery store, there was these they put mats out, and as you stepped on the mat, the door automatically opened
mm.
because there was a camera, there was a sensor, there was something up there that saw you coming, something knew you were in the vicinity, and you didn't have to open that door. You just stepped on it. Now you had to be on the path because if
Yeah.
you wasn't on the path, the door would not open. That's why it's imperative that we are called according to purpose,
Yeah.
because all things don't work together for everybody. They only for the good of
Right, right,
everybody.
right,
They
right.
don't.
Yeah. Right.
They only work together for the good. Two things. That verse is very discriminating for those who love the Lord and those that are called according to purpose. That's why you can wear yourself out doing things, and then all of a sudden your feet land in purpose, and
Yeah.
you are like, all of us, you feel blessings coming from years gone by. It's because your feet landed in purpose, and all the stuff that was meant for evil, even
Mm.
some of the comments that people would say, all of them start working together for Sarah's good. And God opens the door and blesses you. And people look at you and say, where'd that come from? Well, the truth of the matter is her feet landed in purpose. And God
Mm.
reached back and he redeemed the time. And because of that, he'll give you houses you didn't build and wells you didn't dig and vineyards that you didn't plant. And that's why purpose is so important. That's why the women that come to Woman Evolve have got to understand, I got to know my purpose. And I'm just crazy. I'm crazy enough to believe now that whatever I'm in, there's purpose.
Yeah.
There's purpose. I'm not going to spend the latter end of my life searching for my purpose. I'm going to surrender my
Yeah.
life to him and just say, God, if you open the door, I'm stepping in it. Scary. Sometimes it's heavy, but I am called to be that bridge that people are going to, there's going to be so much weight put on me, but as long as you help me, I'll be the bridge that connects one generation to the next, poverty to wealth, you know, connecting people to entrepreneurialism. I mean, there's just so much. That's why it might feel heavy. And that's why the enemy would fight you, because he wants the bridge to go out. But he's a
Ooh.
liar. You got too many people that are there with you. Somebody said to me yesterday, what is the definition of success? I
Mm.
said, to me, success is getting to the place I'm destined to go with the people
Yeah.
that are destined to go with me. Because I can't do it my own on my own. I want to get there, but I want those that are destined to be there with me,
Yes.
because they strengthen you, you know? They strengthen you. And there are things you need everything. You need the prayer warriors. You need people that will say, I'm going to pray from 1 to 2. I'm going to pray from 2 to
Yeah.
3. You need all of that. You need people that will get up in somebody's face and fight if they have to. You need
Yeah.
people who will worship. You need you need people who will work, and they will labor, and guess what? It is just as much a part of their calling as yours is a part of your calling.
Right. That's it.
So,
I love that you said that because I feel like so many of us miss out on the opportunity to have the people who are destined to get there with us
yes.
because of our own trust issues with people and thinking that they don't really want to do that or, they're going to betray me in some way. And so we insist on trying to get to the place we're destined to be, but going alone so that
Mm,
we don't have the vulnerability of being connected to people, not realizing that there are people who are literally called
that's their
to get to
assignment.
that destined place with you.
They're assigned to be there.
Mm.
That's part of their assignment. It's just like God says, I'm going to send a movement into the earth called Woman Evolve. It's going to be right there. Sarah Jakes Roberts is going to put her hands on it. Uh, Sheryl Brady, put your hand on it.
Mm.
All of those
Yeah.
women, put your hand on it. Put your hand on it, because it's our assignment. And and the thing is, and if I could say this to the women in ministry today, I want to so encourage people that even though you have this wonderful calling, and great opportunities. In the middle of it, make sure that you don't leave what matters at the
Yeah.
mercy of what doesn't matter. And by that, I'm saying, as you go into ministry and as God opens doors, make sure that your family is intact.
Yeah.
Make sure. I was never going to be the woman that was out there
Mm.
preaching to the world and my babies not know what to wear to school.
Yeah.
So I would iron their clothes and I'd put it on a hanger and I put a little piece. I didn't even have sticky notes at the time. I should have invented those things, but I would write it on a piece of paper and get a big old safety pin and pin it on their clothes, and it would say Lana Monday, Lana Tuesday, so that they didn't wake up
Yeah.
and not know what to do because mom's out there just saving the world, but they grew up knowing that God had taken care of them. And today they're all in ministry because
Yeah.
I didn't offer them on the mercy of the altar called church or
Let me
at the
tell you.
mercy of the altar called a woman's ministry.
Yeah.
And so in so many ways, I feel I can't explain it. And if I could put it in a bottle and sell it, I would be rich today. But somehow I got where I needed to be with those that needed to be there too.
That
And
is my biggest, like, as God continues to just reveal his plan for our lives and anointing, I'm just like, God, at if the cost of this yes are my children or my marriage, it's
right,
too high of a price to
yeah,
pay.
it's too much.
Even when we came back to Dallas, I'm like, Lord, there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of exposure, a lot of vulnerability here. And this place has been a part of my journey in a way that probably made me feel honored and a little traumatized. And I told God, like, I'm going to come back, but I just don't want to lose my family.
Yes,
And God told me the reason I'm sending you back is because you won't let that happen. Like, if
yes,
you make that your boundary and you allow that boundary to be a part of everything that you do, you will show people that are watching you, that are connected to you, that you can be in purpose and you can be powerful and creative and innovative and strategic and also make snacks and
yes.
be emotionally available
Show
for
up for
your
the
children
gang.
and partner. Yes.
Yes,
So like this meeting got to end at 2:30 because Sarah's got to go pick up the children, and
that's
I
right.
don't want them to feel uncovered while I cover other
And
people.
we need people like you to model that because
Mm,
for years, when we would fill the call, we would think, I have to
yeah.
go because God has called me. But wait a minute, my first call is right here. It's in my
Yeah.
house. It's to my children. And I don't want them to grow up despising ministry.
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
need that modeled. We need that modeled by your generation. And I think you do an amazing job at it. Although and you got to really be careful because there were times that your life can get to spinning so fast
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that you don't even know. I mean, when I tell you, and I look at your life and I'm like, I don't know how in the world that she does this. But there were days that I was spinning so fast that I would, like Tina would always go with me to a church. She would sing before I would preach, and I would hug her and take the mic from her. And I would always put my mic down and I'd say, whose church are we at?
Mm,
What's the
mm-hmm.
pastor's name? Because I was in such a spin
Yeah.
that I was numb. And
Yeah. Oh my
you
goodness. Yeah.
get absolutely numb. I was numb. And I wished I wouldn't have been numb. I wished I wouldn't have been numb, but ain't none of them churches getting a do-over because it
Yeah.
was what it was. And I don't have
Yeah.
the grace to do it again. But you can, and it can spin so fast that all you can do is look out and say, wait, there's my husband. Let me grab him. Let me grab my
Mhm.
daughter. Let me, and now I'm on the next generation. Let me grab my grandson
Yeah.
so that when I get to where I need to be, at least I'm there with those who need to be there too.
Man, and that requires intentionally checking. It's like Mary losing Jesus. You know what I mean? She just assumed
Yes,
he was somewhere in the crowd, so certainly he's here. And then you
yes.
look around, you're like, wait, he's not here. I feel like part of why I am so insistent on like trying to be here as often as I can with my kids, trying to pick them up, trying to take them to school as much as possible, is because I'm not saying they won't get lost in the crowd. I'm just saying I want to know
Come
where they
on.
are. And
That's
and
absolutely right.
I was telling someone that everyone's like, they're going to go astray at some point, and I'm like, yeah, Jesus leaves the 99 to go get the one, but he knows that the one is gone. I just want to know when they're gone. You know
See
what I
what I was
mean?
absolutely.
I want to
And
be
they
able to go and
leave.
find them and get them.
And they leave in such a different way today. They
Yeah.
can still be eating
Oh
at your
goodness, in the
table
house and gone.
and
Yeah.
gone. And so that means I have to be intentional about staying connected. I have to be a
Yeah.
woman that can feel. We have to
Yeah.
feel things. We know when things ain't right, with
Yeah.
all of our children.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, but it absolutely takes that place of saying, God, I want everything you want for me. I, don't- if you, that's all I want. I'm willing to surrender. I'm willing to be sown down into some rich soil.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, uh, I want to get where I'm going with those that are meant to be there as well. You're doing
This
a
has been the
great job.
fact. Thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And
This
a
is
lot of
the
people, they don't understand is that you'll be out on the road doing what you do, still be connecting to home, still keeping
Oh yeah,
everything
for
together,
sure.
only to come home and land on a Saturday knowing, God, in 12 hours, you have to
I got
speak to
to
me.
get up. I got to get up. That's how I did. We did this whirlwind tour for Power Moves. We're doing press during the day, doing these amazing events at night, like boom, boom. I mean, 4 o'clock in the morning, ending at 11 o'clock, flying sometimes in the middle of the night to get to the next city. And I got back on a Tuesday night. No, I got back on a Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. One of the older kids took the kids to school that day. I picked them up that afternoon. I was back in the routine. And I think by the time mid June hit, I was like, listen, power has moved. It is woman dissolve time. It's giving woman dissolve. She cannot evolve anymore.
Oh
She's
my
got
God.
nothing left.
That's so funny. I prayed for you in that time though, because
Thank you.
I not to the degree that you do it, but I could identify with just the humanness of it, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I prayed for you that God would just bless you and keep you. I am still to this day. Um, I have travel triggers, and they're
Mm-hmm.
very real. Um, but like if I see a suitcase, I
Yeah.
literally I have anxiety.
Yeah. Where are we
Yeah,
going? What are we doing?
yeah.
What's happening? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you could tell me 2 weeks from Friday you're going to go, and I'm like, wait a minute, and I have anxiety until I get back home from that date. It's just I just say that's my travel triggers, and it's a real thing. It's a
Yeah.
real thing. And then again, you have to say, but God, I told you I
Yeah.
would surrender,
Yeah.
you know? And so that's why I'm saying it's not a one-time thing, you
Mm.
know. It's a simple sacrifice. Tina wrote a song when she was little. She wrote a song it's called it's a simple sacrifice of just giving your life. You hear both of those extremes. Like it's a simple sacrifice,
Right.
but
Right. Just give your life.
it's your life. It's your
Yeah. It's your
life.
life. Mm-hmm.
And but he's a good father, and he will
Amen.
bless us when our feet hit that path. He may it somehow he makes up for all of it.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I'd come in my office after being on the road, after spinning out of control, and I'd be like, okay, God, I'm up tomorrow. It's my turn. And I would tell my husband, he'd be home all week long and I'd be traveling and he'd say, you're up tomorrow, babe. And I'm like, why I got to be up? Why can't you be up? And but God was good. He was faithful. But there comes a point where you just have to trust him. You have to
Yeah.
trust him. And sometimes you have to lay your pen down. You have to close your computer. You have to walk out of the meeting. You have to say, God, I put it all in your hands. And he
Well,
which
I have
hath
to tell
begun a
you,
good work.
this has been the most necessary 40 plus minutes that I needed for my life.
Me too. Me too.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I needed so many of these reminders, and I know that it's going to help so many people. So, thank you for your time. Thank you for your heart. I do not tap into the well of who you are enough. It's funny, I was just praying. I was like, God, I wish I could talk to somebody spiritual about what I'm going through right now who wasn't my dad or my husband. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
I wish I had someone, but
Exactly.
God knows. God knew I needed this.
Yeah,
So thank you.
good. Thank you. I
I
needed
love
this too.
you.
I love you more.